It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. I do want to play one more audio cut concerning the situation in Minneapolis and Minnesota. And this is legal expert, legal professor, Jonathan Turley. A legal scholar, it says here. Yeah. And understand he's a Democrat, even though he has really, the last couple of years, looked at where the Democrats have gone and said, sorry, you got nothing. And he was on Fox News and asked about the fact that the pastor of that church apparently works for ICE. All right. And asked whether that would make any difference in the invasion of the church. Here we go.
All right.
No, Jillian, it doesn't. The Department of Justice is likely to proceed through its Civil Rights Division. Because they targeted a church, they are looking into whether the civil rights of those congregants were violated. Making things worse for these groups is one of the organizers said that all of these congregants have to look at their, quote, theology and look within their hearts. And so there's this question of whether the church itself and the congregants were being targeted. So there is ground here for the Civil Rights Division to investigate. Now, whether you could make a civil rights case out of that, I'm not so sure. You know, a lot of judges would look at this and say, I see this as a political protest. But what's also fascinating is the lack of deterrent from local officials. You know, at a minimum, this is trespass and disorderly conduct under state law. We haven't even heard from the governor to condemn what was a grotesque and offensive mob action against this church.
To give you a sense of what Justice Department officials are thinking right now, Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General, says it's illegal to protest inside churches, period. She says a house of worship is not a public forum for your protest. It's a space protected from exactly such acts by federal, criminal, and civil laws. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, there are lots of laws that can come into play, particularly state laws, which are the easiest to use here. Federal laws, you will get into a fight over whether the motivation was political as opposed to religious or racist. But there are grounds here for the investigation. Dylan is correct on that.
Well, the entire point is you make it easy.
Yeah.
You make it easy with what the protesters were saying and what Don Lemon is saying.
Right.
He's saying they're not good Christians. We were in there to try to straighten them out as Christians.
Right.
So you've just, the leader of it.
Yes, the face of that whole thing.
Right, is cutting his own legal throat.
Yep.
It's like, what?
Way to screw it up for everybody else there, Don. You know, this is, again, it's such a perfect example of where the radical left is today. You know, they don't even, they have no self-awareness at all, no awareness of legal issues, which isn't surprising or new. But they're so busy virtue signaling, they don't understand as radicals the hypocrisy and soup show that was on full display here. Barging in to a church as far-left radicals claiming the moral high ground. That's beyond laughable. And then condemning the people in the church for their beliefs. I mean, is there a shock? Is there anybody surprised that Don Lemon is pretty much out of work these days?
You know, one of the things is the FACE Act, the federal law that the Trump administration was talking about. And, you had the Attorney General Keith Ellison said, and the FACE Act, by the way, is designed to protect the rights of people seeking reproductive rights. So the people for a religious reason cannot use religion to break into a woman's reproductive health center, Ellison told Lemon. But the FACE Act, according to Fox News, makes it a federal crime with potentially steep fines and jail time to use or threaten to use force to injure, intimidate, interfere with the person seeking reproductive health services, or with the person lawfully trying to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. The or seems to make the difference there. It prohibits intentional property damage to a facility providing reproductive rights, health care services, or a place of religious worship. The Ku Klux Klan Act makes it a federal crime for individuals to deny citizens their civil rights. So there you go. But stuff like this. I mean, everything is about politics and what's going to drive the political narrative, and that's what the left is trying to do. And we've said this: they want the violence.
Yes,
they cannot argue the points. So they realize Americans don't like violence. So if we put violence in, Americans will say, yeah, we need to do this, but we don't need to do it with violence. So if they promote and commit acts of violence, trespassing, whatever it is, whatever illegal acts that they commit in order to get a confrontation, it's what they want because they believe that the American public will become weak if they resist the federal government enforcing federal law.
Right.
And they look at some of the polls out there and say, see, we're winning.
Yes, that's where they believe they're winning.
Because if you look at it overall, we went through the polls, let's go back a year ago after Trump was elected.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of Americans wanted all illegal immigrants that are here, you're here illegally.
Right.
They wanted them gone.
Right.
And then it became the focus on criminal illegal immigrants. But now the left doesn't want anybody gone. Because remember, the whole sanctuary city thing is about protecting criminals.
Yeah.
You have to realize, a lot of people don't realize that. Well, I'm not sure what a sanctuary city is. It's where the local government will not cooperate with deporting illegal immigrants in their jails.
Right.
Will not turn them over to federal custody.
Right.
And they're illegal immigrants that have committed illegal acts. They're suspects in committing illegal acts, and the Democrats don't want them released. And that's why we said it last week, and I saw a bunch of stuff over the weekend. Why doesn't the Trump administration, as they did one time, remember there was something that happened a couple of months ago, and they pulled out, here are these people, and here's what the crimes that they commit. You do that across the board, and you hit it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because remember, we all know the Democrats don't want anyone, even a criminal illegal immigrant. Right. Criminal means they've committed another crime besides being illegal in this country. They don't want them removed.
Right. This is, again, where they think they're winning are these, honestly, they're bogus surveys. They're bogus polls. Because it's a lot like the polls that showed, oh, yeah, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. And then the polls started asking, should we defund the police in your town? Well, no. The other police that aren't my police. And that's where, again, reality starts to set in. Because you start looking at the actions then and people following through, or cities following through with defunding police. And you see the rise in crime. And you see people not getting arrested for going into stores and taking things off the shelf. You see people getting arrested and being put right back on the street. And that's not what people want. We are a nation of laws. and enforcement is required. But the problem is people have the TikTok mentality of seeing something in a headline going, oh, no, this is bad. This is bad. Yeah, that's bad. Well, at the end of it, they want to sleep at night and believe that their neighborhood and their nation is secure. They don't want to see how law is enforced because it's never pretty. But it is necessary if we're going to remain a nation of laws.
You know, Tom Homan was on Fox News over the weekend. Here's what he had to say here. Here we go.
Threats that don't have criminal histories, and there are people with final orders who had due process at great taxpayer expense or order removed became fugitives. And yes, we're arresting illegal aliens when we're out there looking for criminals. You want less collateral arrest? Then let us in the damn jail. Try and Waltz could fix us today. Let us into jail so you can arrest a public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail rather than forcing us into the street to find these bad guys.
It's true.
Yeah.
So we go to the jails and get them. They're releasing them from the jails. They're hiding them from us.
Yep.
They don't want the criminal illegal immigrants.
Well, hey, I've known a judge that might escort them out the back door if they find out.
Yeah, exactly.
That law enforcement, federal law enforcement, is waiting on them.
So let's understand exactly what the left and the Democrats want.
Yes. This is exactly what they want.
They don't, it's not, it's about everybody. Remember the whole, again, we need to reemphasize, sanctuary cities are about protecting illegal immigrants that have committed other crimes.
Right.
And not cooperating with the federal government to get rid of illegal immigrants that have committed other crimes.
Yeah.
The Democrats don't want them out of the country. They want them in the country. You know, I think Sean Hannity was on with one of the liberal representatives and said over and over again, have you ever called any of your constituents' families that have been killed by illegal immigrants? He wouldn't answer the question,
right?
Which means he didn't. He goes, you never have.
Yeah, because the answer is no. Right. Otherwise, if he had done that, he would have said yes right away.
Right. You don't care. You don't care.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You do not care about the citizens of the United States.
Right.
You don't care. You don't give a damn. You're on the criminal side.
Right. Yep.
By the way, the Republicans doing a horrible job. Holman's doing a good job, but the administration, horrible job.
Yeah. Right.
Horrible job, because you've got to market everything you do. You've got to market it correctly.
And constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Repetition over and over and over again.
Yeah.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Uncompensated detention at docks frustrates drivers of all stripes. If you're an owner-operator, you have at least some control over the matter. Make the subject a standard part of your rate and/or contract negotiations on the front end. You can use your own numbers to calculate an hourly rate to compensate for lost income opportunity, as well as fixed costs, which don't stop when the truck stops. Those two elements of a fair detention rate were deemed appropriate by most of Overdrive's audience almost a decade ago. We've used income, fixed costs, and miles average of our owner-operator business services from ATBS's clients to compute an average $64 an hour detention rate then. And 10 years later, the figure is $83 an hour. Use your own numbers to calculate your rate. A simple conversation with any broker or shipper or your carrier if you're leased about what you're putting in the rate might yield results you don't expect. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. And then you heard the whole thing of Ilhan Omar referring to the U.S. blankety blank when talking about ICE. Look, we've said it before. Whether it's whether it's the Supreme Court, whether it's the separation of powers, whether it's the Electoral College, whether it's the Senate, the left doesn't believe in these things. As we've said, if you don't believe in the Constitution of the United States, if you don't believe in the bicameral legislature and the reason for it, if you don't understand, because we heard this, during Biden administration, the Senate needs to go.
Yeah.
The Senate needs to go. The Electoral College wishes to go.
Yeah.
You don't even understand how this country was formed. And we find it amazing that the people that claim, well, we're the patriots, you're not, actually are not the patriots, because if you wish to dissolve the United States because you wish to dissolve the Constitution and the major tenets of the Constitution, if you don't believe, you see it. We see it in Great Britain right now.
Yeah.
First Amendment, throw out the window. Canada, First Amendment, throw out the window.
Yep.
I find it interesting, Don Lemon screaming First Amendment when it's the left that's always trying to come up with some way to reduce freedom of speech in the United States or criminalize freedom of speech. Never thought it was the radical transgender movement. What do you mean? You need to be punished if you're not going to say that a man can't become a woman. We've seen that, for example, in Great Britain. I mean, it's pure insanity. We've seen it in Canada. It's pure insanity where these people are going, and they keep doing the same thing over and over again. They do not believe, if you don't believe in the Constitution, and we're talking about not a Supreme Court interpretation,
right,
but the Constitution of the United States, which is a structure that was set up to ensure, through a bicameral legislature, which simply means you have a Senate and you have a House.
Mm-hmm.
House represents the people, Senate represents the state. If you don't understand that or refuse to understand that, and you don't care about the separation of powers, you believe that judges should make the law and not interpret the law. If you don't believe in the First Amendment of the United States, if you don't believe in the Second Amendment of the United States, then why the hell do you consider yourself an American?
Right.
What is an American that you believe in?
Right. Well, just, again, it's been for a while now where the radical left is just rewriting their own Constitution. And we've been asking that question. Well, what does your Constitution look like? Because the only amendment they would keep is the Fifth Amendment.
Well, and only for liberals.
Right, exactly. and this is, this is it. Keep chipping away at the Constitution and believe that you're winning based on an emotional argument and not a legal argument and not a constitutional argument at all.
No, we've just gone through it with all the immigration
but
stuff.
For them, if the Constitution is not something you believe in, then this is how you act. Right here. It's on full display. This is how you're going to behave if you don't believe in the U.S. Constitution. And you don't pay attention to the laws, the rules. None of it applies to you. And then when someone calls you out, you scream racism. Man, it's getting beyond old. Really. Honestly. And people over and over again see them doing what they're doing, and again, they think they're winning. They think, we've got something here. Aha. How many lily pads are they going to leap from and keep saying the same thing over and over again? That's why all of their protest signs are dry erase boards.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. You know, think about a week ago, we looked at the things that Trump has done foreign policy-wise. So for the most part, we really agree with it. And he's done some wonderful, great things, including go after, as we said, the nuclear plants in Iran and more. We've gone through all of them in the past and said he's been very, very good there. Last couple of days, worst 3 days he's had.
Yeah, not good at all.
Absolutely worst 3 days. The Greenland thing, nobody understands. I'm getting so many conservative Republicans saying to me, what the hell's going on with this?
Right.
Greenland, Norway, we can have what we want in Greenland. We can have the military bases, whatever we need for security, they'll give us. What the hell is he talking about military? Why the hell is he talking? When he came out, when he said, and this is the actual text of the letter he sent to the Norwegian prime minister, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, though it'll always be predominant. What the hell is that? We're talking Greenland. At the same time that he was doing that, he was inviting Putin to be part of the board overlooking Gaza.
Yeah. And
It's
he
like,
confirmed that, by the way, because at first it was just it was basically Putin's people saying that, and then Trump told reporters, yeah, he was invited.
none of this makes sense. You notice everyone inside the White House is quiet on this.
I do
nothing.
Well, it seems the Republican. Where's the Republican Party?
Yeah, they're not saying anything. You might hear. I saw over the weekend on X. Well, you know we know there are strategic things,
right? But
and we already know what Greenland, Norway. Everyone has said,
right.
Whatever you need from us, you've already got a military base here. Whatever you need militarily speaking, in order to protect NATO.
Right.
You've got.
Right.
It's not enough. What do you mean it's not enough? Explain why it's not enough.
Right. Make your case.
You're an American president.
Make your case.
Right. You're an American president. You do not outrightly propose, forget about isolationism, imperialism.
Right.
You can't be a conservative Republican and do that.
By the way, can we close the door on the whole isolationist thing?
Yeah, we did that.
I think we can, officially now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to sit there and say, I didn't win an award, and so I'm now moving, since I didn't win an award.
Since your country didn't give me the award.
Right, since your country didn't give me the award, since you didn't vote to give me the award, well, then now I'm going to think of war.
Yeah.
You want to talk about childlike? I didn't get the award for peace, so now I'm considering war.
Right.
That's the message he's sending out. Latest Quinnipiac poll, 95% of Democrats, 94% of independents, 68% of Republicans do not want any military action against Greenland.
I'll start at zero. Make your case. If the president is going to make a case here for anything, for taking over Greenland, why hasn't he done that yet?
I agree. You said this off the air, and I'm sure I could say it, but it's the same thing of the whole 51st state thing with Canada. He gets something in his mind, and the more people say, stop it, he just has to keep pounding it.
The more pushback he has,
pounding it, and keeps holding a stupid, ridiculous position that the majority of Republicans are even against. Now, there was a question for CNN poll that was asked, do you oppose the U.S. takeover of Greenland? Well, that's different than a military because the takeover could be you buy it. And that was still 94% of Democrats against, 8 and 10 independents against, 50-50 split on Republicans.
Right.
On the buying thing, meanwhile, 55 to 37% of voters questioned in the Quinnipiac survey, they oppose any effort of the U.S. to try and buy Greenland. Now, the 55 to 37%, I don't know why they would object to that, except for the fact that fiscal conservatives may say, we don't need to buy it.
Yeah.
And
right.
what would be the price?
Right, exactly.
Of it. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's
the value of Greenland, right.
To me, a buying thing would be, that would be a voluntary thing. That would be both sides agreeing, and, there's nothing immoral about that.
And the negotiation would likely be very lengthy.
Exactly, which would take a decade to do. Well, he wouldn't be president
exactly
when they
right
coming down to a figure. But that's not going to happen now.
No.
Most likely, it's not going to happen now. They're going to be like, no. And the thing is, they've offered. I don't know any. The president has not said, militarily speaking, what they haven't offered him, because it's been clear. They've said whatever you need military wise, you've got. We've always offered that to you.
Right. Well, then you threaten tariffs. Like 200% tariffs on French wine and champagne, which gives Don Lemon another reason to hate Trump. But here's the problem, is that now you've got a pending court decision on tariffs coming down. So if if the idea is, he's doing 1/4 degree dimensional chest or whatever he's doing, then this is the play to get the negotiations people at the table.
A U.S. president, I don't care. There's negotiation. A U.S. president should never threaten war against someone who is a friendly ally of the United States in order to take them over. It shouldn't be done. If you say it in jest, that's one thing.
Well,
but he's been saying it in a serious way. That is not a legit negotiating point for any American president.
Let's go to last year at NATO, when they practically put him on their shoulders. Remember, He came away from that NATO meeting with handshakes and approval. And now we're face to face with NATO over Greenland.
Here's the other thing with the tariffs. Now you've got Europe saying, you can't trust this president. Remember, they agreed in principle to a trade deal.
Yeah. Right.
The United States has agreed. The president agreed with them. The figures are set. They're now negotiating it right now. And the president's saying, to hell with that. I can throw tariffs on whenever I want. The deal means nothing that I make with you.
Right.
Trade deals mean nothing. Even if I make them with you, they don't mean anything.
Well,
That's
it's
the
my
message that he's
signature
sending.
move, USMCA. We talked about that. Even if it's his signature move, and he puts everything into place, he can come back and go, well, nope, not happy with it. And boom, here's the tariff. And that can happen literally on the spot.
I remember having a debate with the listener on the air. Don't you understand? And I remember the hesitation and pause said, Trump did the deal with Canada.
Right.
Every single trade thing we have with Canada was approved by Trump.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't included in the USMCA, that was by his choice.
Right.
But USMCA was negotiated by one person. I mean, his people negotiated, but it was approved by his people. It was his administration that did it. And then he came back screaming at Canada, you did the damn deal.
Right. But that's, again, that's the level of that. And
Republicans need to start speaking up on this, because this is where you've got the majority of Republicans against what the president is doing. It makes no sense. The American people aren't screaming it. People are getting angry because you're like, you want to buy Greenland and I can't afford groceries?
Right. Right.
I think that's part of what's going on there.
We said, and it was, my gosh, I don't know, a little less than a year ago. Today being the 20th. His second inauguration was a year ago today. But it wasn't long after that we started saying, all right, when we started talking tariffs, I mean, it was a couple months in, a few months in, we said, look, whatever you're going to do it and sell it. Do it. Decide where that's going to be. And sell it. And it kept moving. It kept moving. It's still moving. Nobody knows. Everything's a question mark. And what tariffs would we be talking about? Because, the case for on social media, whether tariffs are good or bad. Well, some tariffs are good. But you can't make the case for it because which ones are you talking about with this administration? Because are you including the 200-plus exemptions on food products that they put into place in order to bring price relief? That's what they stated when they did it. They're doing it to bring price relief to the American people. So that's the problem when you have a big question mark hanging over the economy, and now this idea of possibly using force to take over Greenland, and you haven't made the case as to why you need Greenland, all of Greenland. For 1 second, you haven't made that case.
And you can't make the security thing because they've been open to anything. They've always been open.
Right.
We've pulled military bases from there.
Yes.
They're not saying you can't put military bases. They're not saying you can't patrol.
Right.
Waters that might be ice free. Nobody's saying that you can't.
Right.
We're not limiting you on what you wish to do.
Right.
So what is it? What do you want? He's not made that case to me.
Because up until this, I would tell you, if there were any particular president who was capable of negotiating, in this case, a greater presence in a nation, it's this very president. He's the one that's most capable up until recently. I can't tell you that because he's all over the place on Greenland and hasn't made his case.
No, he hasn't. And right there, Fox News poll. By the way, the Republicans did very well on all the issues, but right here, as prices pinch, voters see Trump focused elsewhere.
Yeah, right.
And I go back to Harlem after he won the first time.
Yeah,
when they went to voters of Harlem saying, "Why do you think Trump was able to defeat Hillary Clinton?" Because she was talking about stuff elsewhere, and he was talking about stuff right here at home.
Right. By the way, the Middle East people can understand. Greenland? That is right now the topic. Greenland, question mark. Huh? People don't get it. Because, again, you can't, any answer you give them. Well, it's military strategy. You need to take the whole thing? How do you do that?
Well, what can't you get from them militarily speaking?
Right.
What have they rejected? What have they rejected from you?
Because if there were
before you tell the American public that war is possible, you better damn well explain why.
Right.
Even if the war isn't going to be a long war.
Right. 2 or 3 hours tops, probably.
I think you're exaggerating.
Okay. Well, travel time was booked in
By the
there.
way, how many Americans are there in
39? Here's what AI said. 39 U.S. citizens currently live in Greenland, although some will argue hundreds of United States people, and it had United States people in quotations. I was like, what does that even mean? This is the problem with AI. But it said that in 2025 it was 39 American citizens.
And that's a lot. That was a response you said. Did any of the people on the left go to Greenland?
Anybody protesting? He should tell Rosie that we're going for Ireland next.
Yeah, this is the worst. This is one of the worst things he's done.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Nope. Worst thing he could do before the midterms.
Yes.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's our Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just reading here about this representative from a Democratic representative from Arizona who was on CNN and said, churches are an open door and protesters have a right to go in.
No. No. No.
Oh, my God. The rewriting of the damn laws is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Churches are open to everyone. I thought churches were open to everyone. Therefore, protesters can go in.
Yeah. No. Doesn't work that way. Does not work that way at all.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody asked me the other day, they said, how's the show going? I go, it's the easiest thing I've ever done right now.
Oh, my gosh.
Because these people are nuts.
Yeah. No, it's coming through and swimming through oceans of absurdity. That's what it is.
Churches are an open door and protesters have a right to go in.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Nope.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.